Greetings, adventurers. This is DM Kurt, and I want to talk to you today about Paladins. The discussion online came up whether Paladins should have to be lawful good. And for the most part, I would say yes. So, what is a Paladin? So, we have some examples of some of the earlier works. First edition Player's Handbook, second edition Player's Handbook, to start off with. Okay, so a Paladin. Let's define that. A Paladin is a fighter subclass, but unlike normal fighters, they must begin as lawful good in alignment and always remain lawful good. Okay. They're human, they're lawful good. Period. Okay? In first and second. Alrighty. They have both fighting abilities and limited spell powers, which they get at like 9th level. They start casting cleric spells. They have a number of special abilities above and beyond a fighter. +2 to saving throws, immunity to disease, detect evil, lay on hands, etc. The ability to turn undead and demons and devils as a cleric of 2 levels lower. At 4th level, they can call for their warhorse, and one will magically appear, and if anything happens to it, you gotta wait 10 years for another one. Okay, cool. I mean, it has to be a special thing, and often you are required to do a quest to get the warhorse, which the Paladin's warhorse, 5 plus 5 hit dice, so 5d8 plus 5 hit points. AC 5, speed of a medium warhorse, etc. And it's a little above average intelligence for a horse. If the Paladin has a holy sword, you have a magic item sword that is special to you as a Paladin. Only you get all of its powers, and it's a really awesome sword. And that can be a whole quest in itself too. So we have 2 quest, options right off the bat. We are a fighter and then some. So what do you get for all this? Well, what do you have to pay? So there's always a pro and a con. The pro, awesome abilities. Con, first you have to roll amazing. You have to roll really well, which meant that these would be a rare and thus special character. Must have a strength of at least 12, minimum intelligence 9, minimum wisdom 13, minimum constitution 9, minimum charisma 17. Okay. That's the kind of person who's going to be preaching to the commons. They are going to be leaders of men, Charisma is often a dump stat unless you start taking henchmen and hirelings into consideration. So it was hard to qualify for, but it got a bunch of cool abilities. Had some limitations. They may never retain more than 10 magic items. These may never exceed 1 suit of armor, 1 shield, 4 weapons, and any 4 other magic items. Catch all. Whatever. Okay. The 4 weapons include swords, daggers, etc. However, bows and magic arrows are considered but 1 item altogether. Okay, cool. They may never retain wealth, keeping only sufficient treasures to support themselves in a modest manner, pay henchmen, man-at-arms, and servitors, and to construct and maintain a small castle. Your DM will give details of this as necessary. Excess is given away, as is the tithe. Paladins are required to tithe 10% of all income. So you gain treasure, you give a little something to the church. It must be given to whatever charitable religious institution, not a clerical PC. So if one of the party members is a cleric, you can't just give to your buddy. And then he holds on to it, and maybe he pays for a few things on your behalf. Can't do that because you're kind of trying to cheat the system. Paladins will have henchmen of lawful good alignment and none other. They will associate only with characters and creatures of good alignment. Paladins may join a company of adventurers which contains non-evil neutrals only on a single expedition basis, and only if same end which will further the cause of lawful good is proposed. So you are a crusader. You are a knight of the realm and of your god. If possible, paladins will take service or form an alliance with lawful good characters, whether players or not, who are clerics or fighters of noble status. So you try and network with your homies. Okay. What the structure of this class tells me is that there is probably a very powerful central church in this setting. And it really, when we were teenagers and we were reading these books, our assumptions were that the armored cleric is not just some, preacher in a church. This cleric and the paladin were sort of representations of the Hospitallers and the Knights Templar and stuff like that. So in Appendix N of the DM's Guide, over that way, not over this way, there's a list of suggested reading. Everybody says, hey, read Jack Vance to understand fancy and magic. Well, there's other stuff in here. You got to know your Knights of the Round Table. Go ahead and read Ivanhoe. Go ahead and read all these, medieval books of knights and stuff. Okay, gives you your basis for what this paladin's all about. Okay, Galahad and Lancelot and them dudes, right? Second edition Player's Handbook. Okay, very much reads the same or similar to first edition. It does describe that if you perform a chaotic act from your lawful good paladin, you're going to have to do some atonement. If you knowingly and willingly do an evil act, you're done. Okay? The paladin's now a fighter forever and evermore. The paladin who did a chaotic act, do some atonement, but until then, you don't get all your magic, you don't get all your special abilities. You're just a fighter until you can, let's say, 10 Hail Marys and an apology and go do a quest. However that works out between you and your DM, saying, hey, yep, I messed up. I got to tell my deity I'm sorry and get back in their good graces. Okay. But what if I want to play a knight who's not religious? Okay. What if? Okay, that's an option. Say, I want to play an atheist paladin. Well, no such thing. Sorry. But you want to play a knight. We can do that. So, first edition, Unearthed Arcana, the Cavalier. You are a fighting type, basically a fighter. You have some bonuses with a very select set of weapons, just a handful of weapons you get some bonuses with that were known for being used in armored combat by horsemen. You get some good horsemanship abilities. It's pretty awesome. Cavalier was considered kind of an overpowered class, so you had to start at negative 1500 XP and like a D4 plus something for hit points and work your way into it. Start off as a squire and earn your way into this powerful class. Kind of cool. Castles and Crusades, okay? Written with Gary Gygax, who wrote first edition and was kind of written out in second. They have a take on it, okay? The Knight. Knight, primary attributes charisma, which I don't believe the Cavalier in first edition required charisma. Alignment, any. The Knight is the archetypal military leader. They are trained from an early age in the use of weapons, armors, siege engines, tactics, strategy, and horsemanship. They live by a code of behavior that sets them apart from normal warriors. Okay, so you have a knight with a code of conduct, any alignment, and not necessarily religious. 5e doesn't really get into this unless you take the Cavalier archetype for the fighter, or you simply take a paladin and just say, well, I got divine powers, but it's not from divinity, it's just from my oath that I said to myself. what's that all about? So, you have the knight. Okay. They have a strict code of conduct. Groovy. And they will try to associate themselves with a powerful church, a powerful kingdom, that sort of thing. Feudal Europe. Paladin. They have paladins also. Prime attribute, charisma. Alignment, lawful good. The paladin is a holy warrior chosen for adherence and absolute devotion to a deity or similar holy cause. And yes, they get some divine powers, such as detect evil, a divine aura, lay on hands, turn undead, etc. Very similar to early D&D's paladins. Okay. So now we've established in 3 different editions of D&D. Yes, I consider this an edition of D&D. It's the 3rd edition that would have been, by Gary's own words, it's the 3rd edition of D&D if he still owned the company. There you go. So, in these 3 editions of D&D, we have defined what a paladin is in a campaign setting. If you ask certain, not all, but certain 5th edition players, what is a paladin? They'll say, it's a tank/healer with alpha strike capability through smite. It's a set of mechanics. They have a number of archetypes of paladin, of which the devotion paladin, Oath of Devotion, very similar thematically, but still any alignment, any species too. It's the whole any alignment, any species, any class, everything matches over across anything. So you've not determined that a particular, it doesn't mean anything. Okay, you're not defining the campaign setting unless you yourself say to your players, okay, in my campaign, paladins are here. Okay, and this is what they're all about. Instead, it's very vague. One particular archetype of paladin, the Oath of the Crown. It is a paladin that basically swears an oath of fealty or loyalty to the king of the land, okay, to the government. Okay, that would be a knight. And you should not be gaining divine spells through an oath to the government. It should be coming through a deity. So that does not work for me. What I think does work, though, 5th edition, you want to play a knight, go play a fighter, pick the cavalier archetype, and that's very thematically mounted combat, defending, the innocents. Basically, I think it's if somebody's within 5 feet of you and gets attacked, you can throw your shield out in front of the attack and cause the attack on them to have disadvantage as a reaction move. I think that's how that goes. That fits for a knight. Okay, I don't think it's ever played very often because some of the number crunchers say that it's not as good as certain other archetypes of fighter. The argument came up, shouldn't other deities have holy warriors on their behalf? I would say yes. Those would be evil clerics, neutral clerics. Or if you're talking 5e, okay, just get out of paladin. And if you don't want to be lawful good, you don't have to be. If you want to portray these, a fighter who's taken an oath to serve as this evil deity would be multi-classed in a warlock. They'd be an evil fighter with these spooky stuff going on with them. It'd make it mechanically different, which would help for flavor. So yeah, in summary, paladin should be lawful good. Okay, and if you really want to play something else, don't twist up that particular character class. Do something else. There's a lot of options out there: fighter slash cleric, fighter slash warlock, etc. And if you wanted to multi-class, again, 5e allows you to do this the easiest. Paladin with something else. How much sense does that make when Paladin's already sort of a hybrid class? It's already sort of in between the fighter and the cleric. I don't know. These are just a few of my thoughts so far. Comment down below. Hope you all have a good day. I'm Kurt. Out.